Hello and welcome to the Opening the Gates February 2024 property market update. For those of you who are returning, thank you very much for returning after seeing my first January market update. And for those of you who are new, welcome. This property market update is going to be going through a variety of different house price indexes and stats and data that I've collated to look at how the February market has performed compared to January, February the year before, and then kind of the average of recent years as well. So just giving my insights and commentary as to what's going on so that agents watching this can be more informed and educated to help their buyers and sellers make better decisions in the market. So I'm not looking to be unrealistically optimistic. I'm not looking to be doom and gloom. It's just giving a balanced argument to what I see going in the market from all the data that I'm looking at and the estate agents that I'm speaking with up and down the country. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and get into things. So as I did in the January market update, I'm going to be starting with stats that I've collated using various different systems, but shout out to 20EA for this data. Absolutely incredible. You should check them out if you're not already using them. So February market update. First thing we're going to be looking at is on the market. That means number of properties for sale in February. So versus January, there was 3.55% more properties for sale. Compared to February last year, 16.95% up and 14.07% up on the 6-year average for February. So what do I think of that? Great news. More properties for sale means more choice for buyers. So that's going to increase activity in the market because in the COVID times, there was perhaps not enough properties, and that was a real issue for people finding what they're looking for. So more choice, great news for buyers. That's going to stabilize prices because there is more choice for buyers. And what sellers need to remember is if there's more choice for buyers, that means there's more competition for them with other sellers. They need to price competitively. So some great data to start with there for any agents watching this who are in the living room and really trying to get the point across to sellers on why pricing is so important. In terms of confidence and positivity return to market, this is backed up by number of new listings. So February compared to Jan, 10.47% up, 15.12% up on February last year, and 11% up on the 6-year average. So again, great news. There is supply returning to the market. However, just to highlight on this, new listings have crept up, which is great news, but not to the levels which would cause an imbalance between supply and demand. I think what a lot of negativity in the media thought in the last 12 months that there would be an influx of new listings to the market, number of properties for sale would increase significantly because of where interest rates were going, but it's just not being seen. So supply has actually remained pretty level, and that has meant sales agreed is on the up. So 22.10% up on January, 22.55% up on February last year. And actually, we're only 0.5% down on the 6-year average. So really, what this is pointing out towards right now in terms of demand is that we're actually returning to kind of where we've been as an average over the last half dozen years. So number of properties for sale, number of new listings, sales agreed, all pretty positive and a relatively stable market. Now, in terms of what we had during COVID with stamp duty holidays, record low interest rates, and then we had the mini budget, the hangover from that, interest rates rising considerably, actually wouldn't be opposed to just having a pretty stable market. And I think for the agents watching this, they'll probably be quite excited about a stable market and actually being able to just operate in a relatively normal market if there is such a thing. However, saying that, onto perhaps more negative things to look at, number of price changes. So there's two ways looking at it, I guess, negative or positive. Price changes are on the up. So just under 5% up on last month, just under 15% up on a year ago, and 29% up on 6 years ago. So positive way of looking at it, great news. Sellers and agents are taking action. They're getting prices down to realistic levels. It's not that prices have dropped. It's sellers and agents perhaps asking too much at the start. But then there's also a concern that our agents and sellers still just too over optimistic in the market because the number of price changes happening is still considerably higher than what they have been in the past half dozen years. Number of properties withdrawn marries up with the kind of price change side of things. So 27% up on Jan, 7% up on February last year, about 5.5% up on the 6-year average. So essentially, in my opinion, people trying at too high a price, then reducing their price, still not getting what they want, they decide to come off the market. Perhaps they're that unicorn seller rather than being a massively motivated seller, trying to get a crazy price. And if it's just not happening, they're moving away from the market. And then last but not least, fall through rates. So Number of fall throughs in February was slightly down on January, which is good news. Slightly up on a year ago, probably still more sales being agreed, to be fair, and only 2.5% down on the 6-year average for February. So again, everything pointing towards a pretty stable market there. So I get it a lot, as I'm sure you do, watching how's the market, Simon? And I was asked this question a few times when I was in London yesterday, and I just said it's a pretty stable market, to be fair. If you're looking at moving and everything is right affordability wise and kind of from a time frame perspective, just get on with it, really, on that. I think the 2023 market was a sit and wait approach, whereas 2024 seems to be a get on with it market with that. So moving on to the second page, what we've got here from left to right is average asking price of new listings. So February 23, January 24, February 24, and you'll see it's actually not too dissimilar. Asking prices have crept up ever so slightly across that time, as have the average asking price of sales agreed. And you can see those numbers here. So they have moved in the right direction, which is again positive news. So for any doom and gloom naysayers out there, it does look like we're over the worst of the market and we're moving in the right direction. That's not to say that sellers can ask crazy asking prices and get absolutely crazy money for their property. And then onto the last page, looking at net mortgage approvals for house purchases. So in January, there were 55,200. And in December, they're 51,500. So slightly up on there. And net remortgage approvals were only 100 up, so similar. Again, stability in the market, good to know. Just to caveat on net remortgage approvals, my understanding on that is, for example, it's only going to count if someone has a mortgage with Santander, they then remortgage with Nationwide, that is counted as a net remortgage approval. If they stay with the same lender, it wouldn't be added into these figures. Now, some more positive news. Increase in mortgage approvals in January 24 compared to 23, up 39.39%. So great news there. Mortgage approvals moving in the right direction. It's a sign of the existing homeowner mortgage market returning to market. I think 2/3 of the market in 2023 was made up of first-time buyers and cash buyers, and it was that owner-occupied mortgage market that were very hesitant with an interest rate rises that we had last year. Again, remortgage approvals up 21.65% on last year, which is great news. And a really interesting data here. I think that everyone gets carried away with interest rates. The effective interest rate, so actual interest paid on newly drawn mortgages, has actually fallen by 9 basis points. Probably won't see that too much in the media. Currently sitting at 5.19%. Just going to look at my second screen, which I'm not sharing, because there's a couple of bits I want to run through before I forget. So net mortgage approvals for house purchases, whilst it's up considerably on January 23, it is still 15% lower than Jan 19. So still got our work cut out to boost those numbers up there. And hopefully that will come back with the increase in confidence to market as interest rates have sort of stabilized and found their place, which I'm going to go through in a minute. And then net approvals for remortgaging. I've already covered off there. So I'm just doubling up on that. So my bad, it's live, anything go wrong. Transactions, that's what I wanted to talk about. So apparently there was 82,000 UK residential transactions in January 24. It's 12% lower than Jan 23. So again, you've got that lag because land registry data is probably going to be what takes 3 months to go through, probably took a couple of months to sell. So stuff completing in January was actually back for 6 months prior. But that figure is still 15% lower than Jan 19. So again, we're not out the woods. Numbers are still lower than what you'd typically expect, but we are moving in the right direction, which is what we're seeing from the property market. So on to the first of house price indexes, which is the Rightmove house price index. Let me just zoom up here. So Rightmove asking prices 0.9% up in February, broadly in line with long-term averages. They're up 0.1% in terms of annual, which is for the first time since July 23, and an increase in sales agreed, as I sort of alluded to earlier, up 16% on this time last year. So just to run through a few things here, so 7% more new listings to market, 7% upturn in a number of buyers inquiring. So again, moving in the right direction. However, need to remember it is taking more than 2 weeks longer to find a buyer than at this time last year, with the average time to sell at its slowest since 2015. So again, a really good example of explaining to sellers the importance of getting the price and marketing right from the start to sell quicker. Normally, the quicker you sell, the better the price you get. Got some stats and data to back that up as well. Now, price reduced properties take twice as long to sell, according to Rightmove. With price reductions on the rise, that would explain why property is sitting on the market for a little bit longer. And I'm going to be looking through a bit later on in this recording the average time of properties on the market that remain unsold. So just going to flick through a few bits here. So average asking price trend on Rightmove, again, you can see pretty steady there, not too dissimilar to where it was a year ago. Affordability trends, I'm not going to run through this on this month. If you are intrigued to know what I talked about on this, please go back and watch the January market update. I do share some bits on affordability trends there. And then price and activity trends. This is an interesting one. So if you look at that, you have got about 7 of the months where average asking price went up. You've got 4 months where they went down, and then 1 month when it was stable. So again, it shows just how pretty stable the market's been in the last 12 months. And of course, over the last 5 years, prices have shot up considerably. And then average stock per agent. So it's a little bit less than what it was sort of 6 months ago. That makes sense on that. But hopefully those levels will remain there. And we can get the number of properties that are transacting to increase as, again, that confidence just keeps returning to the market. As we already said, time to secure a buyer has been on the rise, and hopefully that is going to sort of level off there, because the longer properties are on the market, it's more of an asset and more of a liability to you and a cost rather than assets. You've got to be servicing that client, perhaps more viewings, more vendor care, etc., etc. So that's it for Rightmove House Price Index. I'm not going to go through regional trends on that. Anyone watching, if you do want to find out more about regional trends in terms of your specific area, please do reach out to me. I'd be very happy to run through that. So Zoopla, again, really interesting data here. So asking prices, house price inflation only down 0.5% on a year ago. I'm sure everyone watching this would have absolutely snapped your arm off for that a year ago. Year on year, change in sales agreed, 15% up. So what we've already discussed, a number of properties. So choice on the market, 21% higher. So again, I've already said it, more choice for buyers is great news. It's going to make more people want to come to market. Because again, for those agents watching it, how many times in recent years have you had people say, I'll sell my house, but I won't do it until I find somewhere? More choices coming up, which is hopefully just going to increase that momentum of people coming to the market. So just to run through a few things here. Left-hand side, I'm just going to read this out from Richard Donnell. I think it's absolutely spot on. So housing markets proved very resilient to higher mortgage rates and cost of living pressures. More sales and more sellers shows growing confidence amongst households and evidence that 4 to 5% mortgage rates are not a barrier to improving market conditions. I think I've been saying this for quite a while, and it's been reported here. The 4 to 5% mortgage rates we appear to be at the moment, we seem to have kind of plateaued there. As Richard from Zoopla said, it doesn't appear to be a barrier to entry for people there. I think once you have house prices, mortgage rates were 6% plus, that's where you then are going to get quite considerable house price drops. And then when they're 5 to 6%, just small house price drops there. So 4 to 5% it's pretty normal mortgage rates there. Again, if anyone wants to find out from me, average Bank of England base rate over the past few hundred years, the past 20 years, the past 50 years, I can show you that data as well. So please do reach out to me. So just to run through a few other bits here on this. So as I said, mortgage rates 4 to 5%, and that's what we're kind of expecting to see for the rest of the year. So anyone who sat there going, oh, let's see if prices fall off a little bit, let's see if mortgage rates continue to drop a little bit, it appears like they've found their kind of sort of plateau there, if that's the right word to use. In terms of something quite interesting, but in the sort of long term, kind of where swap rates have again sort of plateaued, they've stopped coming down. So if you look at 2-year and 5-year fixed rates, so for example, I need to just make sure I explain this in the right way. Typically, a 5-year fixed rate would be more expensive than a 2-year fixed rate. So 5-year fixed rate is normally more expensive than a 2-year fixed rate. It's flipped reversed in recent times, and that is just to show that the lenders are thinking there's only one way that things are going to go, and that is down, but not massively down like record low interest rates that we had a few years ago. I think that there's prediction of a few base rate drops this year, but you never know when you're coming or going with Office of Budget of Responsibility. It's changing with the wind on that. But what we know now is that we're in a 4 to 5% mortgage rate market. The bank rate has paused, I think, 5 times in a row, having gone up 14 times in a row before that. So again, I just think the theme of this recording is stability, and there's nothing wrong with that word. Regional trends here. Again, I'm not going to go through that, but it's always a good read on the Zoopla House Price Index to see how everything's going. If I was an agent, I'd be comparing, contrasting different areas on that. Right, nationwide house price index. So if we look at nationwide house price index, this is what I was talking about, swap rates. So you can see how they've been on the way down. They've then crept up a little bit, which is why rates have stopped coming down now, and we appear to have found our level at 4 to 5%. If we look at house prices here, so great news. We have now had 2 months in a row that house prices have increased on the nationwide house price index. If you actually look at where they are, they're not really too dissimilar to where they were 2 years ago. So prices were going up in 2022. We then had the mini budget in the September, as you can see. They started coming down, and then they've kind of stabilized. Again, stable market, good news. So that's the nationwide house price index. You'll see here again how house prices have stabilized. The drop here has stopped, which is good. And the house price earning ratio, if you look at the long-term average, it's typically 4.5 to 5 times. Again, they are just getting a bit more affordable now as house prices have plateaued, wages have increased, rates have come down a little bit. So again, long way to go, but we are moving in the right direction. Halifax house price index, so monthly change, quarterly change, annual change. Halifax are saying things are going in the right direction. So house prices rise for 5th consecutive month. Again, the stuff I've just been showing on Nationwide, what I've shared here, please do share it with your marketplace. Don't try and get them unrealistically optimistic. I keep using that phrase because you will get sellers going, oh, the media said that house prices are on the up, so I want to increase my asking price by 10 grand. It's not what it is. It's just saying that great news that's going to just give more confidence to the market. So you're more likely to get the price that you're asking for before, and it makes your property more saleable, for example. So typical UK home is now about £1,000 more than the month before. Again, you can find out that data on your local area and localize those numbers. So UK is 1,000, maybe Milton Keynes is £500. Again, I can work out that sort of data. Please do contact me if you want to discuss that further. So that's what the Halifax house price index is looking like. So if you look here on the price, so we're at 291.5 roughly. So again, a little bit up on last year. So great news there on the Halifax house price index. Right, eServe, really, really good data here. So just got to remember on Rightmove and Zoopla that we've looked at, that is asking prices. Halifax Nationwide is just looking at mortgage data. The eServe house price index is looking at whole of the market. So you've got cash data and mortgage data in there, which is really, really good. Now, positive signs again, prices up £3,000 in February, largest rise in prices in the last 17 months. So really, really positive there. However, transactions remain at lowest levels since 2013. I think that will just keep coming up and up and up as that confidence returns to market and as buyers realize interest rates are pretty much where they're going to be now and house prices haven't fallen off a cliff. So just going to scroll through some of this. So here we are at 363. But according to the eServe index, we are still down on February last year. So again, if we marry up all the different house price indexes, some say a little bit up, some say a little bit down, some say even. So again, there's no massive increases of massive drops, which again is a resilient market, one that perhaps buyers and sellers would want to be operating in. Whereas 2023, nervous, uncertain market, not knowing where it's going to go. And in 21, 22, the craziness of it, people didn't want to transact in that market because of just house prices going through the roof and they didn't know which way to look. So just going to scroll through a few of these bits here. So let me just go down and show you. So house price map there. So really interesting data. I would have said this in a January market update about how certain areas will perform better than others. So again, talk through your market, why that might be. So for example, the northern parts of the country have not been as impacted as London, the southwest, the southeast, where stretches on affordability would be higher and that mortgage market more dependent on lower interest rates for house prices to go up. So just something to consider there on that. And then if I just scroll down, this actually is really interesting indices for the different house price indexes. So as I said, eServe is up-to-date mortgage cash data. ONS is land registry, so it'd be reporting on December data, obviously completed in December, sale agreed a few months before, came on the market a couple of months before, so arguably 6 months out of date. Nationwide Halifax is just their mortgage data, and then Rightmove is on asking prices. So eServe is a really good one to look at for an overall market analysis on that. So housing transactions, again, you can see that where they are now compared to the COVID market. Yeah, hopefully they can return this sort of way. But again, we've not got record low interest rates or stamp duty holidays that are going to show that. Just on that, actually, not trying to be political. Yes, there could have been more done in the spring budget for the property market. However, when you look at the Bank of England base rate rises or decreases during COVID, stamp duty holidays, there was a lot of intervention in the market, which, arguably was great because there's loads of transactions. But I just think actually to bring some stability and normality to the market, the fact that no one's intervened with it, maybe is actually a good thing, that we can just get on with it and not have certain deadlines for stamp duty or 99% mortgages, for example. Just my opinion on that. And that is the eServe house price index. So please do go check it out. So on to the Land Registry house price index. So if you just look at this, a very stable line over the last 12 months. So in January 2023, the average house price achieved on Land Registry was 285.5. And in December 2023, it was 284.5. So you're looking at about a grand drop there. Again, it's going to be a few months behind because of the lag. But again, it's the most factual information because it's land reg, it's cash, it's mortgage, they're physically completed. You can't argue with it. And again, it shows that there's stability in the market. If I had £1 for every time I'm using that word in this recording, I'd have a lot of money. So just on to the Land Registry House Price Index again. So 1.4% down on last year, 0.1% up on the month. So again, moving in the right direction, which is great news. I've just scrolled through here. You got a variety of different house price bits in here. Really good house price map here. So again, you can kind of see that sort of northern part of the country performing a lot better than the south, where affordability stretches on mortgages has been more difficult. And then you've got the difference between detached, semi-terrace, flat, or all types of properties. Again, if you're doing a house price report in your area, compare and contrast different types of properties, different numbers of bedrooms. There's various websites you can get that data from. Or again, it's something I can collate as well. And then sales volumes. So if I just scroll down here, it's really interesting to see how the sales volumes differ. So again, you can see we've got some work to do to get back up to where it has been in recent years. But again, the trends, the early trends look like demand is returning to market, which is good news on that. And then interestingly down here as well, something I did want to get to, and I can't remember if I discussed this last time. You actually look at the average price paid by a first-time buyer for a property versus former owner-occupier, and then also looking at cash versus mortgage. What you'll notice from the two is that first-time buyers and cash buyers spend less on a house versus people who are paying with a mortgage and also own a property already. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is that 2/3 of the market last year were made up of first-time buyers and cash buyers. That is something that is going to impact the average house price well. So if there's more transactions at first-time buyer and cash, that is going to bring it down. So just something to bear in mind there as well on that as well. Housing transaction distribution, again, some really interesting data here in terms of different price points. Certainly something I'll be looking at. And then you've got the price points that they're in as well. So again, take a look at this, maybe look at your own area and break it down. So how do you compare to the England average, Wales average, for example, on that? So some really, really good data there. So just scroll through so you can kind of see those different bits there. So that is the Land Registry. Property transactions. So I touched on this earlier. So 82,000 transactions in January 24. That's 12% lower than 2023, 2% up on December 2023. So if I scroll down, again, you'll see that we kind of stabilized on transactions, but they weren't what they were in the stamp duty holiday. And then if we change this, if we look at the seasonally adjusted on this, again, look at the years have gone by. So again, estimates, there might be more on that, but we haven't hit where we have been the last half dozen years. We've got some way to go there. And then April to January in terms of years, if you look at where we are at the moment, again, apart from 2021, but obviously as COVID in that, when the market shut down, the levels are still lower than they have been in recent years. Again, not trying to be negative, just trying to give some realism to the market. It is tough out there for agents. There is not loads and loads of sales out there. So you just got to be working so much harder to generate that same amount of revenue. So just think when the pie gets smaller, you've got to work so much harder. Your table manners have got to be so much better on that. So that's kind of the transaction levels. I won't go through anything more there. So if we jump into the RICS report, so I would have gone through this last time, so I'll be quick on this. So if you just look on this, again, pointing in the right direction. So in terms of prices, moving in the right direction, number of inquiries, moving in the right direction, number of instructions, moving in the right direction. So basically above this bar in the middle. Sales market chart, sales agreed, moving in the right direction. Price expectations, think they're going to go up. Sales expectations, think they're going to go up. And then average sales per surveyor have slightly gone up. Stock, slightly gone up. Stock to sales to stock ratio, slightly gone up. So basically what you're seeing there from RICS is that things are moving in the right direction. Again, not moving in the right direction at 100 miles an hour, just steadily going along. So for those who are pricing correctly, marketing correctly, choosing the right agent, there is definitely a market out there. So on to property mark. I don't think I shared this in my last update, so something new here. So again, it's comparing, I believe, January to December. Arguably, December is going to be a quieter month, so these figures are probably going to look a lot better. But 129% increase in appraisals in Jan, 80% increase in new properties coming to market, and 120% increase in number of potential buyers registered. So all really good news there. Some interesting bits to look at as well. I'm going to scroll past some of this because there was a certain bit I wanted to look at. So viewing numbers improve. So good news there. And then the other bit, repossessions remain static. Again, loan to value equity is very, very strong in the market at the moment compared to years gone by. New supply increases, stock levels increase, market appraisal volumes increase, number of sales agreed, post-Christmas bounce, unsurprisingly. And then there was something else I wanted to go through there, but I must have missed it. Here we go. This is it. So asking prices continue to ebb and flow. So percentage of agents reporting properties achieving above asking at or below asking price. So more than asking price, it looks like 1 in 10 are achieving more than the asking price. Around about 20% of the market achieving asking price. And then around about 70% are discounting on the asking price. There'll be some bits I go through in the next few slides as well. I promise we're almost at the end here for those of you who are very patiently waiting. So thank you. Right, FIA member sentiment index. This is a new one here as well. So we survey at the FIA all the members each month to get their opinion up and down the country on what's going on. So what we've basically seen is majority of agents are seeing prices remain the same, listings are on the up, viewings are on the up, sales agreed on the up, fall throughs are the same, and there's a 72% positivity in the market at the moment. So the FIA, independent agents across the country seeing a pretty good market at the moment. So positive signs there, and I'll be coming back with that next month as well. On to home.co.uk. So I think I was going to share a part on this. So the total sales stock count for England and Wales has risen in line with seasonal expectations. The current total of unsold property is 440,000. It's around 17,000 more than last month. So a few more properties for sale I've already said about. Number of new instructions entering the market, 14% up on January last year. Now, typical time in the market for unsold property in England and Wales remains unchanged since January. So current median is 112 days, and in February 20, it was 116. So that is, if my maths is okay, just under 4 months. So average property unsold has been on the market for 4 months. So just something to consider. Again, if you want to know the data for your area, what average time frame has an unsold property been on the market. I'd be very happy to share that with you. And you can also look at how do you target those properties as well. So for example, if a property is selling on average in 60 days and someone's been on the market for 120 days, they've been on the market twice as long as the average it takes to sell. That's a great message to be prospecting potential sellers with. Right. Onto House Price Forecast UK from Really Moving. Yeah, I came across this not too long ago and found it really interesting. So they are looking at house price forecast data. It's taken from conveyancing quotes, which they tend to get obviously 12 weeks before completion takes place. So they can kind of predict where prices are. So on their metric in Q2 of 24, so that's going to be April through to June, they are predicting prices to be around 308, whereas in Q1, 311. So a little bit down. And then a little bit down on Q4. But again, the drops don't appear to be as high as what they were in Q4 22. We obviously know that was a mini budget and everything that happened from there. Right, bricks and logic. So the redder the map, the higher prices are going up. The bluer the map, prices are going down. So quite a spread of red and blue across this map. But essentially what it's showing here is that January sales average at 347, and in December, if I can work it, there we go, 347. So really prices remain pretty stable. Again, moving in the right direction, not much else to report there. And on to the end of house price index sort of updates from me. So a few things I'm just going to run through here, which I hope are of an interesting watch and can be beneficial to you. So Zoopla information. So at the moment, Zoopla have said that the average UK estate agent is achieving 95.4% of the asking price. So just for ease of maths, for me, imagine you're achieving 98.4% of the original asking price. You're achieving 3% more than the average agent. Well, if there's a 1% difference between your fee and another agent, your seller arguably is still 2% better off. There's many other ways to use that information as well. Feel free to contact me if you want to find out more about that. Now, this is a really, really interesting piece. So average agent is achieving 95.4% of asking price. Now, 21% of sellers are discounting their property by more than 10%. So basically, they're achieving less than 90% of the original asking price. So that's a big chunk of equity being lost by overvaluing or estate agents not negotiating as much money as they possibly can on that. So again, something to look at when you've got sellers who want to try too high and then look to price reduce in the future. Some really interesting data here from Hamptons. So in January, 48% of properties that went under offer did so following a price reduction. So almost 1 in 2 properties that have had a sale agreed have done so following a price reduction. Really good data to know, so that when you're speaking to potential sellers, when another agent says, oh, we'll try it at this price, but they've got no evidence to back it up, really good point to say, look, did you know half the sales that happen have had a price reduction? So again, plenty of ways to use that information. I've touched on this earlier from Property Mark, but share of homes sold above the asking price. So looking at the figure here, it's around about 1 in 5, so around about 20%. So 1 in 5 are achieving above the asking price. So if you've got any buyers who are saying, oh, no one pays asking price, or you've got a seller going, no one pays asking price, I'm going to try higher, you've got data to back it up. I'd also be looking at these figures in your business as well. So what percentage of asking price do you achieve versus UK average? How many or what percentage do you get at or above asking price? And what percentage do you sell properties at below 90% of your asking price? I'm sure for anyone watching this, it's probably 0 on that. And then last but not least, number of properties selling within a week. So the figure is about 9%. So 1 in 10 properties going to market, agreeing within a week. The on the market sentiment index from January, which I think reported on December, I think said 32% of properties are selling within the first month. So my thought process on this is, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, are you wanting to be in the 10% that sell in the first week or the third that sell in the first month of marketing? Probably going to say yes. This is the process at XYZ estate agent that allows that result to be most likely to happen. If you do end up not following that process of professional photography, video tour, pre-launch strategy, etc., maybe going with a discounted agent, you're going to be on the market for longer, more likely to reduce your price. So a really good way to get properties on at the right price with motivated sellers, and hopefully justifying your fee as a professional agent as well. So that is it for the February 2024 market update. I hope you have enjoyed that. I will be back in early April for the March 2024 update. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, comment, subscribe, follow, and give me feedback. Anything you like, don't like, want to see less of, want to see more of. And yeah, if there's any data that you're after, any insights on this, I would very happily have a conversation. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching.